So we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 7, Text 30, further inquiries. Oh no, Text 29, sorry, further inquiries by Vidura. It's also the anniversary of the Panihati festival today, Panihati Chiradahi festival, which we're going to celebrate not this Sunday but next Sunday. Can't wait. But because it's a festival, today is the festival day, I would love to talk a little bit about that. So we'll just read the sloka quickly and then move on to some pastimes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Chaitanya Leela. Text 29. Varnashram vigamscha arupa shila svabhata harishinam janma kamani vedasya cha vikasanam Varnashram vigamamscha arupa shila svabhata harishinam janma kamani vedasya cha vikasanam Varnashram, the four divisions of social statuses, and orders of spiritual culture, Vibhagan, respective divisions, Cha, also, Rupa, personal features, Shila Svabhavata, personal character, Rishinam, of the sages, Janma, birth, Karmani, activities, Vedasya, of the Vedas, Cha, and Vikashanam, categorical divisions. Translation: No sage kindly described the divisions and orders of human society in terms of symptoms, behaviour and characteristics of mental equilibrium and sense control. Also please describe the births of the great sages and categorical visions of the Vedas. So that's a tall order in this particular shloka there. So Srila Prabhupada just got one general comment, and he focuses on Mahabharata in the second part of the comment, which I want to address. So the four statuses and orders of human society, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras, as well as Brahmacharis, Grihasthas, Vanaprasthas and Sannyas, are all divisions of quality, education, culture and spiritual advancement attained by practicing control of the mind and the senses. All these divisions are based on the particular nature of each individual person, not on the principle of birth. Birth is not mentioned in this rare verse because birth is immaterial. Vidura is famous in history as born of a Sudrani mother. Yet he is more than a Brahmana by qualification because he is seen here to be the disciple of a great sage, Maitreya Muni. Unless one achieves at least the Brahminical qualifications, one cannot understand the Vedic hymns. Mahabharata is also a division of the Vedas, but is meant for women, Sudras and Dvija-bandhus, the worthless children of the highest section, which I must say it actually just about covers everyone in society. And in this particular day and age, it's actually even more elevated than where people are at right now, because people actually read the Mahabharata, which is all about religious principles and did contain information about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The less intelligent section of society can avail themselves of the Vedic instruction simply by studying the Mahabharata. Almagiyana Timarandasya Nanjana Salakaya Chaksurun Litam Yena Tasmay Shri Guruvaya Namaha Yugame Padimendasya Skalapate Katiramahu Shkikayushtanandana Yantu Shanta Valamadam. This is one of the epic purports from the Srimad Bhagavatam that we delight in discussing. So the Mahabharata is it's a book of a lineal family histories, and there's so much drama and excitement in it that people become enamored with it. I think if you ask the general population who read the Mahabharata, of course it's been read widely in India, who their favourite character was, who do you think they'd say? Who?
Arjuna.
Karna. I'd say it was Karna, because Arjuna in some ways was a little bit sort of, he was the favourite. Nobody likes the favourite. Well, not everybody likes the favourite. They like somebody who's underdone, who's not getting the right treatment. You know, what do you call it? The underdog. Yeah. Well, of course that's Karna, because he was the firstborn in that dynasty, and rightfully he should have been the next Pandava king. So, but that's just by the by. So there were so many stories and intrigue and deceit and everything in there that people get lost in the politics of it, and Krishna is just another personality that just comes into the story, recites the Bhagavad Gita, and it goes on and on. So he's not really the focus of the Mahabharata. This is why Srila Prabhupada is referring to people who are less intelligent read the Mahabharata. But I'm just thinking, well, if that's less intelligent, there's different grades of less intelligence. People now, they don't read the Mahabharata. They sort of, they look for their thrills in different sort of fictional, phantasmagorical heroes. Just like if you ask your kids what outfit does Superman wear and what's he got on his chest, they will tell you straight away what's his weapons, what's his weakness. Every kid knows that like it's reality. Batman, you know, Spider-Man, Thor, all these characters, right? Their vivid imagination, they've sort of got the models. Before that, it used to be the Mahabharata, but now it's just not even that, it's just totally fictional. So this is a reflection of the society that we're in today, that people's minds have been just completely swayed and taken away by the process of, by the society that we're living in, actually. So where that's coming from is that there is no more Varna ashram like what is being described here. So we have to know that the Varna ashram's always been here. It's always been existing right up to, you know, some period of time, a few hundred years ago in this age of Kali Yuga. Even in England at one point in time it was a feudal system. In India, but the ravages of Kali Yuga have just sort of completely degraded this whole system. So it was happening simultaneously all around the world, so we can understand this is a symptom of Kali Yuga. Manda samanda madaya manda bhagya upadrata. Men are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and always often disturbed, as are the leaders of our society, always disturbed. But previously to that, in the other ages, was always the Varna ashram. Even the demigods followed the Varna ashram system, just like Hiranyakasipu. He also followed the Varna ashram, even though he usurped everything in the world, put all the demons in charge. He still followed Varna ashram, that he was God, that Brahmins had to worship him. If they worshipped Vishnu, then they were completely ostracised and vanquished. So there we have that. So towards the latter stages, Srila Prabhupada is saying that Varna ashram became polluted because it actually became something that was a birthright. So Lord Chaitanya also railed against it. It actually, before that, Ramanuja also railed against it. And they were attacked by the Brahmanas, and it's been going on, it's been ongoing. But in the time of Lord Chaitanya, he was preaching that actually the highest welfare is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, that is the process of liberation for this age of Kali Yuga, process of emancipation, and anybody can do that. Anybody can reach that highest qualification simply by connecting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead through this process. So one particular, it's mentioned here that in the previous age, Vidura also, even though he was outside of the system whereby he could become the highest devotee, still, because he took shelter of Maitreya Muni, he became a great sage who is in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam here. So similarly, Haridas Thakur was another one in the Chaitanya Charitamrita who actually was brought up in a Mohammedan family, but by the association of great devotees such as Advaita Acharya, he became totally immersed in Krishna consciousness, and now he's the Namacharya. Classified as the Namacharya for this age, that he chanted so many rounds, 300,000 names daily, right? Which is 192 rounds a day. What are you up to? 10? Well, minimum for us is 16. So we can understand that he was very, very potent devoted Lord, and he was very dear to Lord Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who worshipped him in the highest fashion as a devotee and cared for him, as did Advaita Acharya, but still he was looked down upon society as being an outcast. So that was the caste system. So now we can see that right at this point in time that Varna ashram is not really a feasible option, but still Prabhupada emphasised it so much because it's here in the pages of Bhagavatam, and it is the eternal system. So until society reaches that stage where they become purified to that extent that they can appreciate a system that's actually elevating everybody to the standard, to the level of Krishna consciousness, where they can actually grasp their connection with the Supreme Lord, we have to put up with so many different errant systems and leaders who are totally intoxicated by the symptoms of the age of Kali Yuga. So I want to discuss today's the anniversary of the Panihati festival, and it's one of our most joyful festivals that we have on the farm. We are celebrating the festival down in the paddocks there by the river, and we have all sorts of sports, and we take the lords down. And the Panihati festival is known for its chip rice, that we serve chip rice. It's coming from Raghunath Das Goswami. The principal individuals involved in this festival, or the original festival, were Lord Nityananda, Raghunath Das, the cameo appearance by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the supporting actors were Raghunath's father and mother. So Raghunath Das is one of the 6 Goswamis, and he had a wonderful meeting with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Raghunath Das was one of the very outstanding devotees that he was very, very austere. I was just meditating on the Goswamis, actually, just to put it into perspective. Sometimes we don't know. We know the prominent ones. We know Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, but what were their pasts? So the most famous ones were Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. They were born in a family of pious brahmanas, but because they were so talented, they were placed into the service of the Shah, what's his name, the Zamindar, the Shah? Huh? Nawab Hussain Shah, who was a very, very powerful ruler, and he was very pleased with the way they managed his state affairs, and he was away, and he knew that the state was being managed nicely, and they become very, very wealthy under his shelter. But they were always they were great souls. It's said that persons who've acted well, actually they were Nitya Siddhas, so they just took birth in a situation, pious devotees, and they got trapped in this, and they were identified as service in the service of Mohammedans. They were identified as Mohammedans, but still, by the dint of their strength of devotion to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were able to escape their situation, and the wealth meant nothing to them, according to their relationship with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, they also were very, very fortunate that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sought them out. He knew them as his devotees, and they were trapped in their situation. So they took shelter of him, and when he saw them, he explained to them that, well, he said that you will come to me very shortly, which they did. So they had his association. And then we have the other two Goswamis. We have Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. They also came from a very pious Brahmana family. And when they were very little, both of them actually had the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so they always remembered the Lord, and when they had a chance to when they had a chance to leave their situation, then they also went to Vrindavan and became Goswamis. And the youngest one was Jiva Goswami. And Jiva Goswami, his father was brothers with Rupa and Sanatana. So when Rupa and Sanatana went to Vrindavan, his father Anupam also went to Vrindavan. But before that, Jiva also had the mercy from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he got his association, served him, became very, very attached to him. And then when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left and his mother died, he went and took shelter of Nityananda Prabhu, who took him around Navadvip. We have that famous book, what's it called? Navadvip Mahatmya? Yeah, where it's still used as a basis for all the places of pilgrimage when we go around Vrindavan. And then Jiva Goswami, under the instruction of Lord Chaitanya, went to Varanasi, became a very, very astute student of the Vedic scriptures, and then he went to Vrindavan. And so he was one of the foremost Goswamis. So that's 5 of the Goswamis. So they were all born in Brahmana families, and they had different mixed fortunes, but they all got the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very, very in their early stages of life. So Raghunath Das was a little bit different, that he was born in a very, very wealthy family. They were wealth beyond measure, billionaires according to our terminology right now. Raghunath's father, his name was Govardhan Mazumdar. Sometimes even the Hindu families would take on some Islamic name that would describe their situation of prestige and wealth or whatever. So that was the meaning of Mazumdar. And his father, Govardhan, brought him up to inherit all the wealth and all his just to carry on the family tradition. But Raghunath, right from birth, was exhibiting symptoms of renunciation. To understand that a little bit, we look at the Bhagavad Gita, and in chapter 7, verse 28, it says, Yesham tuantagata papam gyanam punya karmanam Saidvanga moha nirmukta pachanti mam vridavrata, that those persons who are born, those persons who have acted piously in this life and in previous lives, who have eradicated all their sinful reactions, they will take to devotional service and serve me. So, with great determination, vridavrata. So this was evident in Raghunath. And then it also says, I forget what shloka it says, maybe you can help me, that those such souls, they take birth in family of pious brahmanas or wealthy persons. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. So that is going on. So the Goswamis, they were actually Nitya Siddhas. They were associated with Krishna in their past lives, but so they took birth in really either pious Brahmins, and Raghunath not only took birth in family of pious Brahmana, but also very, very rich one. So in one sense there was an impediment because he couldn't get away from it. And he had that spirit of renunciation. When he was young, his father took him to see Haridas Thakur. So Haridas stayed nearby. He wouldn't go into a village normally. He'd just stay under a tree or in a cave. And he would exhibit his symptoms of ecstasy by chanting the mantra so enthusiastically in his Leela with the Supreme Lord through the process of chanting. So when Raghunath Das saw him, he became moved, he became totally affected by the ecstasy of Haridas Thakur, and he wanted that ecstasy. He didn't want the wealth, he didn't care about the wealth, he wanted the ecstasy that Haridas Thakur was showing in his love for Krishna. And so he was meditating like that. And then while he was there was a Brahmin staying at their house, very, very wealthy house, and would visit him and would talk about the glories of Lord Chaitanya to him. So he became convinced at a very, very early age that he wanted to go and take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he'd run away. So all of a sudden, where's Haridas? Where's Raghunath Das? Where's our Raghunath gone? He's gone somewhere, so find him. So they'd send all these guards out to find him and bring him back. Then he'd run away again and they'd bring him back. So his father got about 6 guards to watch him day and night. So if he ran away, they'd fetch him, they'd bring him back again. He didn't want him to leave because he was afraid that he'd become a sadhu and renounce all this wealth. So this went on. And then one day they found out that Lord Nityananda had come to a place called Padihati, which was only a few kilometres away from the village where Raghunath Das was staying, which was called Krishna Purnam, Sri Krishna Purnam. So his father gave him permission to see Lord Nityananda. So he went with his 6 guards, who were watching him very, very carefully, to see Lord Nityananda. So Raghunath Das was too shy to come close to Lord Nityananda. He was still rather a young man. And he was hiding, sort of half hiding behind a tree. And one of Nityananda's disciples actually happened to glance and see Raghunath, and he mentioned to Lord Nityananda, there's Raghunath that's hiding behind a tree over there. And Lord Nityananda says, bring him over here. bring him right now. Raghunath Das, you are such a thief. You're hiding there like a thief. You're going to have to be punished. I am going to punish you. And your punishment is that you have to make a feast, right, for everybody. Feast of chip rice. So, chip rice, that was a rather unusual request because, of course, Lord Nityananda knew that Raghunath Das and his parents were beyond wealth. They were just so rich. They could have organised, Raghunath could have done anything. He could have done samosas, he could have done puris, curd sabji, gulab jams, jalebis. Just your mind can run crazy with what he could have organised for everybody. He had the facility to do that, but actually Nityananda said, no, just I want you to make a festival out of chip rice. It just happened by chance that there is a chip rice that grew in the area. It was called panetti. It was a particular type of chip rice, and that's probably why the name of the village was called Panihati. But nevertheless, it was still significant. There was chip rice because now, you know, like anybody who wants to organise a meal or feast for somebody, they wouldn't serve chip rice. I think I do remember in the early days when I went to Mayapur, we used to have chip rice for breakfast sometimes, but it was just, I don't know, it was just the way things were pretty austere in those days. But these days, even in Mayapur, they serve a really, really nice khichdi. I don't know if people would actually even want to eat the chip rice if they went there. Oh, we got free prasad. Where's the chip rice? You know, you sort of look away a bit. Because actually there's all different sorts of rice that you can get, and chip rice is like at the bottom of the pile. But yeah, they serve khichdi, and it's very delicious actually. The devotees also line up with all the guests to eat that khichdi because it's so tasty. So chip rice is usually associated with the status of beggars. So somebody goes to a shop and buys some good rice. They also buy some chip rice to give to the beggars. Sometimes you see that the beggars have a few coins and they also got a pile of rice. So this chip rice is like you soak it in water, and then you mix it with curd and yogurt and condensed milk. So the taste isn't that great. For years I've been actually trying to get my head around the taste of chip rice. I know when we have it on Panihati festival, you go, oh gosh, I bought this nice pot. And it's full of chip rice. You know, we used to auction the pots, right? And the pots would have chip rice in it. And I didn't see too many people eating it, but it's the bhakti that's in it, because actually Lord Nityananda asked Raghunath Das specifically to make chip rice, because actually it's in the mood of renunciation. He was asking for the bhakti. Of course, Raghunath was delighted to be able to cook a feast. To make a feast, you don't cook it, you actually soak it. So Nityananda says it's a chip rice dahi. What is dahi? The dahi festival, right? So it's soaked in yogurt. So Raghunath Das got all the chip rice he could find in the whole area, and he made two types. He soaked one type in yogurt, which had he put some ingredients in it. He put I've got it here. I'm just sort of recovering from Byron Bay last night, so my memory's not that good. So yogurt, sugar and bananas and dried fruits in one. And we have to understand that it's actually quite a nice preparation to have in really, really hot weather. So it was in the middle of summer, like right now in Mayapur, it is in the 40s, it's 43, 44, 45 degrees. So, I mean, it would be very, very palatable. So one pot was made of chip rice and yogurt, and the other pot had condensed milk with clarified butter, which we assume is ghee, and camphor, and other exotic sort of ingredients like raspberries, dates, figs, and so on. So it was palatable. Especially in those days, it would have been great, especially that the fact was that it was offered by Raghunath Das, the Sri Chaitanya Maha, to Nityananda Prabhu and ultimately Sri Chaitanya. So Nityananda Prabhu was in ecstasy to receive this from Raghunath, and he tasted it with relish. And Raghunath had to feed everybody, so he'd go to all the stores and get all the chip rice and soak it and get all the other ingredients he could find. And the store people would say, "What's going on?" They said, "Oh, it's a festival by the bank of the Ganges." So they'd all go to the festival also. As soon as their stores were empty, they'd sell everything and come to the festival. So then Raghunath would have to go to the next town to get more. And the same thing happened again. "What's going on?" "Oh, it's a festival in Panihati." "Okay, let's shut the doors, let's go." So the whole neighbourhood, the whole province just started to come to Panihati. There were like literally millions of people there, and there was no room anywhere. Panihati, all the fields were taken up, and it said that people actually were in the river. They were on the banks of the Ganges and in the river, and they would receive their 2 pots. Everybody got 2 pots, of one with condensed milk and one with yogurt, and there'd be loud chanting the holy names of Krishna. It was a very ecstatic occasion, and because it was so ecstatic, the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself came in a subliminal form. So it was seen by the devotees. He was seen by the devotees to be receiving chip rice. Lord Nityananda was putting it into his mouth, and he was putting chip rice into Lord Nityananda's mouth. And so therefore they were having this wonderful pastime. And during that festival, Nityananda called up Raghunath Das, gave him some instructions about eventually, because he was so eager to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and be with him, and he said, "Be patient, because soon you will be able to fulfill all your desires." So he received the benediction from Nityananda Prabhu. So it was by that benediction that eventually he was able to escape. Soon after that, there was a situation that came up that the local brahmana of their deities that they had in the house was short of a pujari. So Raghunath, on the plea of doing service to the deities, went to the temple, but then he had his opportunity to escape, and as soon as he got out, he ran and ran and ran. He didn't go on the main road, he went on the side track, and he ran all the way to Jagannath Puri, and he took shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we have that famous statement that I think all the devotees know that by now, that his father, who was grieving so much, and his mother came up to his father and she said, "Next time we bring him back, we just have to tie him up in chains so he can't get out." Right? And his father said, what good would that be? We've already given him all the wealth that he could possibly dream about. He can have anything he wants, and he has the most beautiful wife. It's said that his wife was had the beauty of a heavenly apsara, and still that can't tie him up. So he's referring to the fact that the 3 modes of material nature are all there. He's tying them up with the gunas, but Raghunath broke loose of the gunas, so what good are chains? So they acquiesced, and then Raghunath had all these pastimes in Jagannath Puri with prasadam. Just quickly, I've got a couple of minutes, we'll just sort of talk about it. that when his father found out, that is, with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, used to send him 1,000 gold coins a month to look after him. So Raghunath would actually throw this huge feast in Jagannath Puri with all his wealth, and he'd invite Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the feast. So that went on for a while, and then all of a sudden it stopped, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying to Swarup Damodar, "What's happened? Raghunath stopped having all these large feasts." So Swarup explained that actually Raghunath was thinking, why should he depend on the charity of his father, who's got all this karma coming from all this money, and he's giving it to him? What is the point of that? That actually he should be self-sufficient. So then Raghunath went to the gate, the Simhadvara gate, and he'd beg food from the Brahmanas. As the Brahmanas would come past, they would give him some remnants, and so in that way he was satisfied. So after a while, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Swarup Damodar, he said, "I don't see Raghunath at the Simhadvara gate. Well, where is he now?" And he explained that actually Raghunath actually didn't feel like just waiting there and receiving this charity there. He felt very embarrassed by it. So he's sitting with the beggars further down the line. So when people come past, they give him some remnants of whatever they've got. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was satisfied with that. Then after a period of time, he said, "I don't see Raghunath in that line of beggars either." So he was looking out for him. And Swarup Damodar explained that actually he doesn't do that anymore. He just goes to the place where they discard all the old prasadam there, and they leave it for the cows, and then some of the prasadam the cows won't even eat. So Raghunath picks up that prasadam, scrapes it off, and gets a husk inside it, and he eats that. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was delighted, because actually here's the transition that he understood, that we can understand that Raghunath renounced every single aspect of wealth. He was born in such a wealthy situation that it's almost impossible not to become polluted by all this material energy that is on offer to you. So he's become completely 100% renounced. So Lord Chaitanya went running to see him. He was in his little mud hut that they built for him, and he reached under the bed. He had some of that prasadam under the bed. He said, "What have you been hiding from me, Raghunath? You haven't been inviting me to your feast anymore, and I know you've got some wonderful prasadam that you won't share with me." And so he grabbed the bowl and he started to eat that prasadam that Raghunath had. And he was so embarrassed to actually, he was so embarrassed by the fact that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Lord was eating that prasadam. But the Lord was delighted by his activities. So throughout the course of his life, his years in Jagannath Puri, he took shelter of Swarup Damodar, who's one of the most intimate servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Swarup instructed him on principles of devotional service, and also told him about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So when Lord Chaitanya left Jagannath Puri and left this world, Raghunath Das was so mortified that he went to Vrindavan, and he was going to jump off Govardhan Hill. His life wasn't worth living because his Lord had left. But then Rupa and Sadatam were there, and they convinced him that actually he's a great devotee, that he should actually talk about his experiences and pastimes with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is where Krishna Das Kaviraj got all the information of Raghunath Das about intimate pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Antya-lila and Madhya-lila too. So he got them off Swarup Damodar, and so this is why we have the Sri Chaitanya Charamrita. As it is, it's through Raghunath Das. So That's the Panihati festival. So when we eat chip rice and soaked in yogurt and condensed milk, we just have to remember the bhakti that is there and what it represents. It's very ecstatic. Joe, does anybody have any comments they'd like to make or questions? So
chip rice and flat rice is the same?
Chip rice, flat rice the same?
I don't think so.
Maybe the gallery out the back might be able to tell us. I can ask Bharat, he's got experience in it. There's chip rice and flat rice the same?
No.
Huh?
No.
They're not. Chip rice is different.
It's literally chip rice.
Can we get it here? We obviously can. Or do we? Or do we use flat rice?
It's just, I think it's like third class rice. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we do the panihati, we use flat rice, right?
Use flat rice.
Aha. Very interesting. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Yes, Vaishnavi over here.
You're talking about Raghunath Das's renunciation, and I remember a while ago my husband was sharing that Madan Mohan Prabhu, the godfather, he was telling him that he was relishing the pastimes of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he was saying how Lord Chaitanya gave different instructions to different devotees. For Raghunath Das, he told him to renounce, and then I think there was some other devotees he told them to live in family life. So renunciation is very individual. And because I was thinking also that Pundarik Rajanidi, he had so much opulence and Shivananda Singh, but they utilized it in paying for devotees to go on pilgrimage and for the prasadam. So what is that psychology of renunciation? Because even within that, living in that opulence, there was that consciousness of renunciation. So what is the essence of that?
Well, it's to do with the mentality of the personality. Just like you mentioned, Pundarik Vijayanidhi, he was able to be in an opulent situation and still maintain his attachment to and devotion to the Supreme Lord. With Raghunath Das, well, he really renounced the fact that he didn't want the wealth, he just wanted the shelter, and that's probably an example that we need to be given, just the same as Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami renounced all their wealth. And it's a different sort of mentality and mindset. Sometimes, you know, we need this, that we don't need too many unwanted things around us because they distract us from our devotional service. But usually, even though Rupa was so renounced, he still wrote his Upadekshamrita just to utilise everything that we have in Krishna's service. So that's how we usually look at it. This is our renunciation. It's not that it's actually we imbibe the devotion that Raghunath Das Swami had for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and through his renunciation he was able to give us so many instructions. Just like I said, he gave instructions to Krishnadas Kaviraj about how to write, what to write in the Chaitanya Rita, and so on and so forth. So it all depends on who the individual is. So in this modern day and age in Kali Yuga, we all come from these different families and that, and so if we can just utilise everything that we have in Krishna's service and not want to accumulate too much or too little, then we situate right there, part of Krishna consciousness. Okay, the clapping's going on. Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.